The prototype is still a big mystery, but we know he made all the toys fight against the company. He convinced every toy to start the hour of joy and kill everyone. We were lucky and didn't die in that attack. Now that almost everyone is dead, the prototype controls the factory and kills any toy that doesn't listen to him. Since most toys are gone now, he's watching us and might need us for his evil plans. Poppy is why we came back to this scary place. The letter said our old work friends were still alive, but that was a lie to make us look for the flower. We didn't find our friends. We found Poppy instead. She's different from other toys because she was made first, maybe in the 1960s, way before the others. She might be connected to Elliot Ludwig, like his daughter, because she says, "I wish you were here, Dad. I could really use one of your talks right about now. When you were running this place, you always knew what to say." Elliot lost someone he loved back then, so maybe he made Poppy to feel better about losing his real daughter. But Poppy isn't nice like she pretends to be. She trapped us in Chapter 2 when she changed the train tracks, and she left us to die at the end of Chapter 4. Huggy Wuggy was the first real success in making big toys, even though Boxy Boo came before him. Boxy was more like a wild animal, but Huggy was smart and did what the company wanted. He was called Experiment 1170 and worked like a secret guard behind the first door. Now the prototype controls him and he walks around the factory trying to kill us in Chapter 1 and Chapter 4. CatNap was their best experiment when they made him. Experiment 1188 had special powers that older toys didn't have, like making red smoke that didn't hurt him. This red smoke made the kids in Playcare sleep and made us see weird things in Chapter 3. But CatNap wasn't always good. When new experiments are made, they get angry and violent while getting used to their new bodies. During this time, CatNap killed some workers because his cage wasn't locked right. Nightmare critters. These scary toys seemed like Halloween versions of the regular smiling critters that kids could buy in October. But in Chapter 4, they're much more than that. Harley Sawyer and the prototype use them to fight us. Cool thing is, when we get inside Safe Haven near the doctor's room, we can hear the Nightmare Critters song, which means they might have had their own TV show like the Smiling Critters. Smiling Critters. These toys were made by the company and each one smelled different when you played with them. But there was a big problem with the CatNap toy. It made red smoke that gave kids really bad nightmares, so they had to stop selling it. This hurt the company's reputation badly. Even though they stopped selling small CatNap toys, they still had the big version in Playcare that gave kids the same terrible nightmares. We hear about this in a Chapter 3 recording. CatNap had the red smoke in the room, then suddenly there is this scream. Nightmares happen, I know, but this, I mean dilated pupils and quivering lips. Mommy Longlegs, she was made before her toy version to test out new stretchy plastic. Marie Payne, the girl we heard screaming in Chapter 3, became this monster. When we meet her in Chapter 2, she wants to play games with us but tries to kill us while playing. We had to think fast and use our brain to finally kill her in a big, grinding machine. Dough Dog. This experiment was made from 3 different kids put together: Jack Irish, Kevin Barnes, and Matthew Hollard. Jack was the boy who fell into the dough at the start of the chapter. Kevin had anger problems and lived in Playcare, and Matthew was an older kid with lots of worries who came to Playcare when he was already big. This is why Dough Dog keeps changing moods.
My fault. Hurt. Everything hurts. Hurt back. Always hurt back. Parents, scientists, everyone have to. My friends. He killed my friends. You. It all started with you. You and her. It was you who ruined everything! No, that's not true. They jump-started the generator. They destroyed everything! I'll kill you!
Daddy Longlegs in Chapter 2. We met Mommy Longlegs, but we saw a poster showing Mommy, Daddy, and Baby Longlegs together. They probably sold these as toys since Mommy was so popular, but we don't have proof that they made a big version of Daddy. We haven't found any papers or records about him being made big, but maybe we'll find him later since there are lots of toys we've met that don't have any papers about them. The hour of joy on August 8th, 1995 at 11:00 in the morning, all the big toys and experiments fought back against the workers at the same time, killing everyone in the factory. But in Chapter 3, when we're seeing weird things, we hear a radio playing backwards. When you play it the right way, it says we didn't show up when we were supposed to. Since we find an office that says guilt haunts you, it makes us think we might have helped cause the hour of joy. People didn't like nightmare critters in Chapter 3. We met the smiling critters, who were both small toys and big experiments like CatNap and Dog Day. But in Chapter 4, we only met small nightmare critters that were much weaker and less important than the smiling critters. Fans noticed this and said the nightmare critters weren't as good as they hoped and didn't matter much to the story. Project Playtime failed after Chapter 1 and 2 did really well. They tried to make a different game called Project Playtime. In this game, you had to collect toy parts and escape while one person played as the monster trying to stop you. At first, people loved it, but it needed too much work and took time away from making Chapter 3, so they gave up on it. Dog Day didn't want to hurt us in Chapter 3 when we found Dog Day. CatNap was hurting him because he didn't follow the prototype. He told us to leave because there was nothing left to save. Before we left, small smiling critters went into his body, took control, and tried to kill us. Even though it looked like Dog Day was chasing us, he was already dead. And the small critters were just using his body. Fake. Chapter videos. When new chapters come out, people get really excited, but that excitement goes away after a few months. Some people want to make money from this excitement so badly that they make fake trailer videos for the next chapter. There are some good fan-made videos that are fun to watch, but the ones that try to trick people into thinking they're real are bad for the community. CG5 made popular songs because the game got so popular, everyone wanted to make content about it. CG5 made a song called Sleep Well about Chapter 3. This song did amazing, getting about 300 million views across different videos. He made other songs about the game too that are really good. Bad kids videos with all the excitement about the game. People don't just make fake videos, but also make really bad content that shouldn't be on YouTube, some of which is shown to kids on purpose. I won't talk about it too much, but it's one of the worst things that happened because the game got so popular. The Doctor's Story. Harley Sawyer, the main bad guy in Chapter 4, has a pretty good backstory. He used to work with Elliot Ludwig doing science experiments as a kid in Elliot's Smart Kids program, but got kicked out because he was too proud and mean. If he was bad as a kid, he was 10 times worse as an adult. His pride in thinking he was smarter than everyone else made the company turn him into an experiment to stop his dangerous behavior while keeping his smart brain. This recklessness has to stop. The Doctor has no regard for the safety of this facility or its staff or the children in play care. I've tried to set boundaries with him. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to any of us. Not really, not anymore. What do we do? There is one thing I can think of. NFTs were a disaster after Chapter 1 did. Well, they tried to make their own special NFT pictures that cost $15 each. There were 5,000 of 6 different posters, making 30,000 total. If you bought all 6 for about $90, you'd get a secret VHS tape. But the NFTs failed so bad that no one talks about them anymore. They came out so soon after Chapter 1 that players got angry and gave the game bad reviews, making it go from very good to okay. Out of 30,000 NFTs they wanted to sell, they only sold about 800. The smiling critters are dead. In Chapter 3, we only met 2 big smiling critters, Dog Day and CatNap, but both died in the same chapter. In Chapter 4, we hear a recording of Hoppy Hopscotch, but he died before we even came back to the factory. Since we don't see any other big smiling critters, we can guess that the prototype killed them all. C-level special, Xbox and PlayStation prize. When you play the game on Steam, there are no prizes to unlock, but on Xbox and PlayStation, games need to have prizes. One prize for Chapter 3 was called Poppy's Angel, which you get if you beat the whole chapter without dying once. Secret games before each chapter. Before each chapter came out, except Chapter 1, the makers created secret mystery games that gave hints about the new chapters and extra story information. For example, in Chapter 4, fans found out what Brontosaurus looked like by taking a broken photo and fixing it to make it clear. People say it copied FNAF Five Nights at Freddy's is a huge, scary game series, and since Poppy Playtime is also scary, there are going to be similarities. But there seem to be too many. For example, you go to an empty place as an old worker, fight toys that are alive and used to be kids, and both William Afton and Elliot Ludwig's daughters were turned into toys. Even though there are lots of similarities, Poppy Playtime is still its own game and isn't just copying FNAF. GameToons YouTube channel. GameToons is a YouTube channel that makes cartoon versions of different games. They made tons of videos about Poppy Playtime that did really well, with their videos getting about 100 million views total. Official Discord problems. Poppy Playtime has its own Discord server where fans can talk about the game and developers can give updates. But things can get tense. There's talk in the community about unfair bans and the Discord not being fair to people. These are sensitive topics that are hard to explain, so you can look into it yourself. 3 times the fun hint. At the start of Chapter 4, we see a commercial for Dog with a happy song about how fun he is. In the song, it says triple times the friend and triple times the fun, which talks about the 3 colors on his body, yellow, orange, red, and the fact that Big Dog was made from 3 different kids. Look at all the colors. Cartoon showed what would happen. This one is really crazy, and whoever noticed this is super smart. At the beginning of Chapter 4, we see a cartoon about the smiling critters. In the cartoon, CatNap comes in and makes red smoke, causing all the toys to fall asleep. Right next to CatNap, we see Dog Day with his arms up and his legs covered, while all the other toys are sleeping on the floor with their legs showing. Since the makers pay attention to small details, we can see this was hinting at when we find Dog Day trapped in the school prison. Missing character songs. In Chapter 4, we hear theme songs for different characters like Yarnaby, Dog, and the Nightmare Critters. But the makers never put them on their YouTube channel, so the only way to listen to them is by going to Black Griffin's YouTube channel, where you can find all 4 songs in one video. Deep Ocean Possaurus joke got banned before Chapter 4 came out. We met Possaurus, a scary dead dinosaur made in the Big Toy program. He had his own YouTube video where we see him slowly appear behind a screen playing his commercial. Every time he pressed keys, he twitched, which seemed to show pain or fear. It would take an extinction-level event to stop this late Cretaceous composer. He is Possaurus. He plays for us. But when we see him in Chapter 4, he got killed and eaten in less than a minute, which made fans upset that his character wasn't used well. People started copying and pasting "Had Justice for Possaurus" everywhere, but because it got so big, it was banned on Reddit, maybe to stop more damage or because the spam was too much. Dog's real phone number in the Chapter 4 commercial, you could actually call the phone number shown on screen, which led to a really interesting recorded message. Thank you for calling Playtime Co, home of beloved children's toys like Huggy Wuggy and the newly released Dubman. Oh my goodness, all of our Playtime customer satisfaction associates are currently assisting other callers. What is going on? Goodbye. Poppy is bad too. This is kind of obvious, especially with how Chapter 4 ended with her leaving us and Kissy to die by the prototype. Throughout the games, Poppy has always seemed like she cares, but really she just wants to do her own thing. She changed the train tracks on us in Chapter 2, was willing to kill all the toys in Safe Haven by blowing up the whole factory, and left us behind to die at the end of Chapter 4. So when Chapter 5 comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her join the prototype's side to save herself. Edgar Coaster Drama. Edgar Coaster made an indie game called Venge, but because his game and Poppy Playtime seemed similar, he said they stole from his game. Edgar Coaster and the makers of Poppy Playtime have history from when they made Minecraft animations, which made things even more tense. Russian theft claims. About a month before Chapter 3 came out, a YouTuber making fake animations got a few things too right to be an accident. This led to another YouTuber called Theft King making a video saying it's possible that people translating the Russian version of Poppy Playtime could have used the real script to make animations for money. But his video caused controversy with people saying he was being mean to Russians and making things bigger than they were. He makes some good points, but it doesn't really make sense for people making fake animations to need the real script since the animations are fake anyway. Bottom of the ocean. Huggy's return was always planned. In Chapter 1, we meet Wuggy and end up in a chase that ends with us dropping a heavy box on his head, sending him falling to the bottom of the factory. But this wasn't his death, as we see him in Chapter 4 banging on the door to the labs. This was a huge surprise for the end of Chapter 4, but if you pay close attention, in Chapter 2, we find blue fur and blood going into a vent. Since Huggy has blue fur and likes going into vents, this was hinting that Huggy would come back. Braun was supposed to be in the Playhouse. Braun is a character that was supposed to be in Poppy Playtime multiple times, but this is about his planned appearance in Chapter 3 where he was supposed to appear in the Playhouse instead of Dog Day. This is confusing because there is a place called the Playhouse in Playcare, but Dog Day appears in the school's basement that looks like a playhouse. Maybe the school's basement and the Playhouse are connected, which means instead of finding Dog Day being hurt, we would have met Braun. Yarnaby's wildlife story. Yarnaby, also known as Quinn Davidson, was a kid who lived in Playcare but was turned into another monster by the company. But this isn't the Yarnaby that was made for movement. Quinn's big body was based on the already made Yarnaby toy, which the company wasn't even going to make at first. In the 1970s, the company joined a wildlife conservation campaign, and to help it, they created and sold the Yarnaby toy for a short time. But because he became so popular, they kept making him and added him to their main toy collection. Nightmare CatNap's old jump scare. Very bottom Chapter 3 was really dark. This seems to be talking about how Chapter 3 was way darker than both Chapter 1 and 2 combined. In Chapter 1, we had a big blue monster chasing us who fell down a hole. In Chapter 2, we killed Mommy Longlegs by putting her in a grinder. But in Chapter 3, we find Dog Day being hurt, CatNap got stabbed through the back of the head, and in one of the trailers, we heard really scary screams that sound like children. All that awaits you are incomprehensible horrors, smiling mouths full of teeth and meat and plastic. This world is theirs now. Welcome home. Who is really the bad guy? I think this is talking about hints throughout the game that make us seem like the bad guy. In Chapter 3, we hear a radio saying we were supposed to be there 10 years ago during the Hour of Joy, but somehow we managed to be one of the very few workers who lived. What makes it worse is that we find an office in the same weird vision that says in big white letters, "Guilt haunts you." But what's really bad is that the prototype tells us in a Project Playtime recording that we made him. Since the prototype started the Hour of Joy, it's possible that we either helped prepare it or we knew it was coming and didn't show up on purpose that day. And that's the whole Poppy Playtime Iceberg. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.